I processed death certificates at a city hospital. I found a pattern in room 314. Tonight, my husband is in that room. I worked in the medical records basement at St. Agnes Hospital for 11 years. My job is boring and I like it that way. I sit surrounded by gray filing cabinets and the low hum of servers typing death certificates into the state database. The doctor already fills in the cause of death. I just copy it, hit submit, and move on to the next file. I don't see patients. I don't hear sirens. After 11 years, you learn to stop reading the words and just see shapes. I noticed the pattern by accident. My coffee had worn off. I was typing slow, and I saw two certificates from the third floor, same room number 314, same cause of death, cardiac arrest. The dates of death were exactly 1 year apart. I almost let it go. Coincidence happened. But boredom makes you curious, so I started pulling more files. Over the next week, I went through every death certificate from room 314 going back to 2005. I found 37 cases, all cardiac arrest, all between midnight and 3 a.m. The attending physicians changed, the patients changed. The only constant was the room. I pulled the physician admission logs for those patients. This meant spending my lunch breaks in the old archives, breaking in mold and paper dust. What I found made me close the folder and sit in dark for a long time. Every single one of those 37 patients had a flag note in their file, not always criminal, sometimes just social worker's observation or a nurse shift report. Patient became highly agitated when wife visited. Daughter asked staff not to leave patient alone with grandchildren. Multiple bruises in various stages of healing noted on spouse during intake. The hospital never acted on these notes, they just got filed. And then the patient got admitted for something routine, a broken hip, a UTI, pneumonia, and ended up in room 314. Then they died. Quietly, cardiac, with no one asking questions. I told myself I was seeing patterns in noise, but then I looked at the nursing staff assignments for those specific night shifts. Most nights, the floor nurses rotated normally, but there was one name that kept appearing in the margins of old paper rosters written in small, neat handwriting, and Bishop. The name stopped showing up in 1982. I searched our employee records. Noreen Bishop was a night nurse at St. Agnes from 1965 to 1982. She died on December 17th, 1982, in room 314. Cause of death, cardiac arrest. Her HR file was thin, but I found two disciplinary write ups. One for refusing to administer pain medication to a patient she referred to as a monster, the other for being found in the room of a cardiac arrest victim at 2 a.m., sitting calmly beside the bed, holding the patient's hand. She told her supervisor she was just saying goodbye. The patient was a man who had been investigated twice for severe domestic abuse, but never charged due to lack of evidence. I stopped sleeping. I started volunteering for extra night shifts in the records room so I could dig deeper. I found old, crumbling shift logs where Noreen had written tiny, cramped notes in the margins next to a specific patient's name. He won't hurt her anymore. The children are safe now, and she asked me to. I didn't know who she was until I found a faded handwritten complaint from a doctor in 1954 buried in a box of incident reports that should have been shredded decades ago. The doctor accused a nurse The doctor accused a nurse, E. Alcott, of deliberate inaction resulting in patient demise. The patient was a man with severe burns on his hands. His wife had matching burns on her back. The doctor wrote, Nurse Alcott stated she heard the patient's wife crying from across the ward and that she prayed on it and that God told her to let the man suffer. Nurse Alcott was let go quietly. She died 2 years later, cause of death, cardiac arrest, room 314. Something was being passed down, a duty, a curse, I don't know what to call it. 3 nights ago, my husband was admitted to St. Agnes. He fell off a ladder in our garage, broken collarbone, possible concussion. They kept him on the third floor for observation. When I walked into his room to sit with him, I saw the number on the door, 314. I froze. I should have asked for a transfer. I should have made a scene, but I didn't. I just walked in, sat beside his bed, and held his hand. I smiled when the nurses came in. I told them he was a good man, a hard worker, just clumsy. But last night, one of the night nurses paused in the doorway. She was older, gray hair pulled back in a tight bun. She looked at me with an expression I couldn't read. She glanced at the room number. She glanced at my husband, sleeping heavily under the thin hospital blanket. Then she looked back at me and she said very softly, "You know, don't you?" I didn't answer, I just stared at her. She gave a small, sad smile, turned, and walked away. Her footsteps faded down the hall. I'm Brian this from the vinyl chair beside his bed. It's 1:47 a.m. The hospital is quiet. My husband is asleep. The nurse hasn't come back. But I can feel something in this room, a warmth, a presence. It's standing just behind me, at the very edge of my vision. I don't want to turn around. I don't want to see her face, but I can smell lavender and old paper. I can hear a voice, thin, gentle, like a radio tune between stations, whispering the same words over and over. She asked me to. I know what he is. I've always known the way he apologizes after he breaks something, then makes me clean it up while smiling. The sick days I took when I couldn't show my face to coworkers, the way Sunday was always family day, and family day always ended with me crying in the bathroom, scrubbing my skin raw in the shower. I never told anyone. I just typed certificates and came home and pretended for 11 years. I haven't decided what I'll do, but my hand is resting on his IV line, and the room feels very, very patient. Yo, it's actually really good. I tried black magic and it worked, but I don't know how to explain what my life has been like, so I'll just say it plainly. Nothing good has happened to me in years. I'm not exaggerating for effects. Every year, something worse happens than the year before, until eventually I stopped waiting for it to get better and just started waiting for whatever was coming next. About 8 months ago, I noticed I couldn't feel things anymore. Not sadness, not happiness, nothing. I sit in my apartment. I live alone. My parents live far away and depend on the money I send them every month. And I just stare at the wall, feeling absolutely nothing. And some small part of me almost missed being sad because at least sad was something. That's the state I was in when I found the ritual online. I'm not going to explain what it involved. I'll just say I was desperate enough to try anything that promised to make me feel like a person again, even for a second. It worked, just not the way I wanted. The first thing I noticed was a cold spot by my bedroom door. It never went away after that night, no matter the season. Then I started hearing three distinct sounds at three different times every day, like clockwork. The first always came in early in the morning around 4 a.m., a woman's voice humming, slow and mournful, from somewhere inside my closet. I never opened that closet again after the second time I heard it. Not because I was scared exactly, remember, I couldn't really feel scared anymore, but because some old animal part of my body still knew to avoid it, even if my mind didn't react the way it should have. I started calling her the mourner. She never spoke words, only hummed, and the tune always sounded like it was building towards something. Some final note that never came, over and over every single morning, endlessly unfinished. The second came at midday, always while I was trying to eat. A child's laughter, high and delighted, coming from directly behind my chair. Every time I turned around, nothing was there, but small things started disappearing after the laughter. A spoon, a single sock, the second half of whatever I was eating, gone from my plate the moment I looked away. I called this one the thief. It never seemed to want anything valuable, it just wanted to take small pieces of my life, one at a time, like a child pulling wings off something slowly, delighted by how little it took to make me feel like I owned less of my own home every single day. The third came at night, right as I tried to sleep. A man's voice, calm, reasonable, always saying the exact same six words into my ear as I drifted off. You should stop paying for this. I understood after the third night that it meant the money I sent my parents. I didn't need to ask what it wanted me to stop doing instead. I called this one the convincer because, unlike the others, it wasn't trying to scare or take from me. It was trying to talk me into something patiently every single night. The same six words, never louder, never angrier, just endlessly, calmly reasonable. The three of them together were bad enough, but about 2 months in, I understood there was something else living in my house with them. Something none of the three ever went near. I only ever caught it out of the corner of my eye, tall, still, standing at the far end of whatever room I was in. Never approaching, just watching, like a landlord checking in on tenants doing exactly the work he'd assigned them. I went to 5 different priests, 2 churches, an exorcist my coworker found online who charged me almost everything I had left after sending my parents their share that month. Every single one of them did their ritual, their prayers, their blessed water and salts, and every single one of them left my house looking pale and shaking, telling me telling me something I didn't want to hear. The last one, an old priest who'd clearly seen more than others, told me the truth plainly before he left. He said the three spirits weren't the problem, they were symptoms. Whatever I had opened during that ritual had let something much older into my house, something that didn't need to scare or steal from me, or convince me of anything even, because it wasn't interested in my choices at all. It was just waiting patiently for the part of me that still felt anything to finish dying on its own. I've thought about ending things more than once since all of this started. I won't pretend otherwise, but I can't. Not because I'm strong, and not because I found some reason to hope things will get better. It's because my parents depend on the money I send every month. And if I stop, I don't know what happens to them. So every single day I get up, I go to work, and I feel nothing the entire time. I come home to a house with three spirits and something else standing quietly in the corner of every room, and I keep going because stopping isn't a door I'm allowed to walk through. I thought that was the worst part of my situation. I was wrong. Last night I couldn't sleep, so I finally went back and reread the instructions for the ritual I did 8 months ago. The ones I've been afraid to look at again since that first night. And near the very end, in a section I must have skimmed past in a hurry back then, desperate to feel something, anything, I found a line I don't think I truly understood the first time I read it. It said the ritual doesn't call spirits to torment you, it calls them to feed on whatever emotion you're the most starved of. It draws them toward the exact shape of what's missing in you, and it keeps them there until the emptiness is completely full again, one way or another. I've spent 8 months thinking three spirits and something worse have been torturing me for no reason. I don't think that's true anymore. I think they were sent because I couldn't feel anything. And somewhere in that house is something that's been very patiently, very carefully teaching me how to feel again: fear, loss, dread, grief, one lesson at a time, exactly in the order I stopped being able to feel them naturally. And for the first time in 8 months, lying awake in the dark last night, I felt something I hadn't felt in a very long time. I felt afraid of what happens when the lessons are finished. Yo, I gotta say, these are actually really good. We're gonna do one last one. I hope you guys are enjoying these ones. Thank you all so much for the support. I hope you guys enjoyed the gallon challenge. That was really fun. I'm gonna be honest, I don't know if I want to do that again because it was so messy. It was so messy. My parents always have the same argument every night. My dad says I'm fine, but my mom insists that I'm dead. Hey, one of the lurkers here, trying to ask around the internet for some advice over a really bizarre situation I'm facing. Things have gotten out of control. Yesterday was another long night of nonstop arguing from my parents. I'm not exactly a kid, but I still live with them. I know some of you probably have to deal with situations like this too. It sucks, I know. But my case is different. There's something wrong with my mom. Every night she argues with my dad, but the topic is me. My mom is convinced I am dead. Like, not emotionally dead, not I did something wrong, so you're dead to me, dead. Physically dead. It's she's not well. My father has started setting appointments with mental health professionals. Well, he was. I guess I'll explain later. Maybe someone can help me out. I'm desperate. God, I guess I'll start at the beginning. So, I'm just an ordinary guy. Nothing much to say about me. Like I said, there was nothing I did wrong. It was just another average day. I was just talking to my mom. We were having breakfast out of the blue. She just turned to me and said, "It's a shame what happened to you. You were so young. It's a shame that car hit you and you lost your life." Excuse me? I think I drew some milk and cereal out of my mouth. I was pretty shocked. You see, my mom is, well, she's a proper lady, old school. She's always kind, warm. She barely yells, and she never cusses. But she also doesn't tell jokes, especially dark ones like this. So when she said that, I was completely floored. It was one of the most out of character things I've ever heard her say. I basically just ignored it as a weird joke and went on with my day. When I got home, she was arguing with my dad about, well, you know what? The first couple days were really weird. We couldn't tell if she was being serious or not. She would say I'm dead, and my dad would just point at me and say something along the lines of, "That's not funny." After a bit, she stopped, then continued again the next day. Things have escalated. She started arguing like a lot, coming up with comments that are largely nonsensical. I've heard stories of how I've been burned to death, drowned, electrocuted, hit by a car, shot, dropped in an acid. Apparently, I've given up on trying to convince her. Me moving around and talking to her doesn't seem to faze her. She still persists. My day to day has become beyond bizarre. She asks me constantly what the afterlife is like. I tell her that nothing much has changed. What the hell am I supposed to answer? I'm not dead. I'm right in front of her, doing the same thing as ever. I just largely ignore her at this point. I know what you're thinking. Well, your mom has gone insane. Yes, I know. I thought so too. But then something happened. One day, my grandma came to visit. I love my nan. She was just in the living room minding her own business, eyes closed, hands clutched together. I passed her, not sure if she was asleep. She opened her eyes and I said hi to her. She just smiled and said she was praying. She's quite religious. She said she was praying for me. Cool, I guess, but then she turned to me and explained why. "I'm praying for you so that your soul can rest in peace." What? I think I froze in place for like a minute. I don't know how, I don't understand it, but my mom convinced my grandma that I'm dead. I I couldn't believe it. There was a tiny chance my mom was joking, but my grandma? It, it wasn't possible. I should have explained something. My mom kind of rules the family. She's kind, she's sweet, she's very convincing. She doesn't get the last say all the time, but when she wants something, people usually just go along with it. I have no fucking clue how she managed to convince my grandmother, but it's clear that something is going on. I just don't understand what. This situation, like I said, escalated. The other day, I was taking a nap in my bed. I suddenly smelled smoke. It was so alarming that I jerked myself out of the bed. The burnt smell was coming from me. My mom had taken a lighter to my clothes to try to set me on fire. "Maybe you'll pass on if you get cremated," she said. What the fuck? She was smiling as she said that. This was the first instance of her trying to actually harm me. I keep my distance from her nowadays. After that incident, I went to my dad. This was going too far. She needed help. Maybe my grandma was going senile, but my mom needed help. I talked to my dad. He just looked around awkwardly. I couldn't believe it. She managed to convince my dad. Like he's starting to accept the idea that I'm actually dead. I don't know what the fuck is even going on anymore. This family is breaking apart or it's uniting, I suppose. On the most bizarre and twisted idea I've ever heard. Life isn't normal anymore. We went to the beach the other week. It was the last time I tried to do anything normal with my family. I fell asleep lying on a towel. When I woke up, my mom was above me, smiling. She had buried half my body in the sand. I could barely move. I screamed and jolted away. The sand felt coarse against my skin and heavy to move out of, but it was right before it felt like a solid stone that I squirmed free and got some distance from her. I think she was trying to bury me alive. I fucking yelled so much at her. The whole beach was looking at us, yelled about this sick joke, about this fucking idea that she has that I'm dead. I had enough of it. I don't think I've ever been so angry in my life before. She just looked at me silently, a small smile on her face. The dead shouldn't yell. Fucking hell. What have I gotten myself into? But it doesn't even stop there. It's getting worse. She managed to convince people at my school, my friends, my teachers. No one pays attention to me anymore. When I raise my hand to ask a question, the teacher ignores me. One time she said, the dead can't ask questions. It's unreal. My friends pretend I'm not there. My family doesn't cook for me anymore. I'm a stranger in my own home, a ghost wandering. The other day, I saw her on her phone. She called me over. Look at this, Chris. I went to check. I'm very apprehensive about her nowadays. Our relationship is basically non existent, and it is going to stay that way until she gets the medical help. It was coffins. She was looking at fucking coffins. You look nice in this one. I can't really express it. The feeling of a loved one casually talking about your death, of intending it. It's not. It's not right. And everyone is starting to take her side. This ordeal is taking too much of a mental toll on me. I'm getting ready to leave town and go somewhere, anywhere. I need to get out. I'm writing this to ask if anyone has encountered anything similar. I know mentally unwell people exist, but to manage to convince basically my entire family and everyone around me, is this some kind of mass psychosis? If anyone has experienced this, please let me know. I'm packing my bags to leave. I need a break. I need to get out first. I'll fix this shit show later. I can't deal with my mom browsing what embalming fluids to use on me. I have to leave before I do something drastic, something I'll regret. I'm not. Wait, update. I was home alone, but my parents just got home. They came in a van. I don't really understand it. We don't own a van. What the fuck? What's going on? There's like 10 people with them. I I don't. What the hell is going on? What the hell is this? They're all carrying shovels. All right, guys, that's going to be it for me today. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. Thank you all so much for the support. See you on the next one. Goodbye.